Right now, the head coach of the 76ers, Brett Brown, joins me here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN as the Sixers finishing up the final week. Coach, can you believe you've gotten to the end of the line almost?
I mean, it's gone quick. I think it's a reflection of how much I respect our young players. It's obviously not a result of the quantity of wins. You know, everybody understands the nature of the program now. We really enjoy coaching these guys. They play hard. You know, they care. They're into the development side of it all. So it's gone quick, I think, for that reason as much as anything. Well,
Coach, you just mentioned it. The wins aren't really there, but I think a lot of fans are still, excited about this team. And as you mentioned, the way how hard they play. What have you learned about this bunch over the course of this year, going back to training camp and some of the guys you have now as you come into the final week?
I think just how it validates if you believe in something, you just sort of draw a line in the sand and you never let it go, that players can improve. And we talk so much about the individual improvement in some areas, specifically with some players and others in different areas. And without getting into it now, they have delivered. They put in the time on the court, and you're seeing massive improvement in almost all of our guys, some dramatically. I see as a team where we come out from day one and say we're going to have to build this program through our defense. Last year we were 27th, as 26 or whatever we were, and this year we're 11th. We're the youngest team in the history of the sport. That's a hell of an accomplishment in the NBA to have achieved that. And so that's the long answer. I've learned a lot, but those things especially stand out.
Coach, obviously you just mentioned it. You went from 27th to 11th, which is unbelievable, but obviously the team has a lot to do with that. But how much is having a guy like Nerlens out there change? I mean, you have improved by almost 10 points per game defensively. How much has he changed your ability to play defense?
He's changed it a lot, Mike. You are right. Like, that's sort of our crown jewel as it relates to the rim protection we have behind the perimeter people. And I think he's experienced a little bit of an adjustment the past 7 games where I've taken him from a 5 position and put him at a 4 position, trying to just get a taste of that when inevitably he's going to be placed next to Joel. And his block shots have come because he's not at the rim, and our team defense a little bit has suffered because of that coaching adjustment I decided to make to maybe test the waters for the future. At the end of the day, when we were really rolling, his ability to block shots and have that level of presence at the rim, I think the stats you just read off confirm that.
Brett Brown is with us. The Sixers take on the Bucks tomorrow night right here on 97.3 ESPN. It was about a month ago that you guys made the deal for Michael Carter-Williams. You'll see him tonight. Are you happy with where your team has progressed without Michael, and are you surprised that you guys have been fairly competitive and won games without him?
Well, we're actually going to be playing Milwaukee in a few days. We're here in Chicago. And your point is true, Mike. When we do play Michael in a few more days, it's going to be one of those kind of, elephant in the room things, kind of awkward when you see him. I really like coaching him. He was a huge part of the city and Rookie of the Year and had solid teammates in the program. And so it's one of those things we wish him well. The club felt like the trade had to be made, and we move on. But we know that he's a hell of a player, and we look forward to seeing him again, just from a human standpoint.
Yeah, and obviously this team moving forward, a lot of people have talked about evaluations and players and finding out which guys can play and move on as part of your, forward movement here. You mentioned Joel and Nerlens. Are there guys on this roster, you said people can improve, and some people have improved so much. Is there guys on this roster that even surprised you at how much they've improved?
I mean, Nerlens is the obvious one. His numbers post All-Star break are historic. When you start looking at the company that amongst, in steals and blocks, and how many people have averaged the 3 of them, points, steals, and blocks, and had some huge rebounding games, he's in really elite company. I think that's the one that gets the most attention. I think the underlier, sort of an outlier with all of them, is Jeremy Grant. I feel like he sort of ticks a bunch of boxes. We're trying to see if he's a 4-man, a 3-man. We're not sure, but I just feel like the growth of Jeremy has been excellent.
Brett Brown is with us, the Sixers head basketball coach, and, of course, winding down this season here. And what about Joel? What excites you when you see him in practice? I know there's been a lot of people who said, hey, you want to come out and see him, come out at 5:30 and watch him. You get to see him every day behind the curtain and stuff. What excites you about his skill set?
Well, let me throw one thing in before I answer your question in regards to skill set. When you actually see him, you're next to him, he's one of these people that just has an amazing presence with the size of his body. You know, we've all sort of coached in this league, all my coaches, and I've been around the game a long time. He's one of these players. Bogut did it. Luke Longley did it. Joel does it, where you just physically sort of realizing the size of the man, especially when he steps next to like Nerlens or Henry Sims. I feel like he's going to end up being a two-way player. I think that his offense and his defense can be unique. We've said from day one everything will revolve around his health. We're especially targeting his diet and his weight. And he's been fantastic. You know, our goal is to try to put him in a position where he can keep moving forward and deliver him to the summer league courts. And so far, I think we're making good ground in that direction.
I know, obviously, the draft is a little ways off, but would you welcome another big man to coach and enter into your lineup? Is that something that would excite you?
Well, I get asked that question a lot.
Sure.
Especially as it's a little bit closer, and sort of my immediate answer is you end up taking the best player. I mean, if there's a clear-cut best player, you take the best player and know how to make it work. If it's a little bit murky and it's not a completely they're a very delineated selection of who's number one, then maybe you piece it in. Maybe you draft to fit a puzzle more than not. And so whatever that means, you know, we'll go with. I think the bottom line is that the draft is healthy, and we're excited for this next few months to see where that plays out.
Do you believe, Coach, that you guys are right on schedule, ahead of schedule, not where you hoped you would be at this stage to now your third season next year?
Oh, I think we're ahead of schedule. Now, we have a heck of a long ways to go, but so much of what's not reflected in a win-loss record, what we're doing with our sports science, what we're doing with our actual staff, how them in pre-practice, all those types of things is playing out, where we're really trying to build this culture. Those things that the public wouldn't see because you sort of just watch us play on game night or see a win-loss record. That's really starting to take shape. I'm thrilled with the direction that is going. I think that we've proven that the program will be directed in with defensive spirit. Initially, you're going to need to play both sides of the ball at some point. I hope soon. We're very much challenged offensively as we speak. I think we've moved up the food chain defensively as the stats suggested. And I think some of the individuals that we're uncovering, you know, people like Covington and Jeremy and the growth of Nerlens and seeing the progression of Joel Embiid, really studying Saric overseas and looking what he's doing, you know, the excitement of multiple picks we have coming up. And even if we miss out on some of these first-round picks based on other teams' results, they're still ours. We'll just get them a year later. And so from all perspective, I think that we're ahead of the game. We've had ground broken on a very lucrative, very professional, world-class practice facility that we're excited to move into, I think, 16 months from now. So all over the place, you know, there are examples of us like to feel pretty good about ourselves at the moment.
He's Sixers head coach Brett Brown. They got the Bulls, the Bucks, and the Heat. 3 games left to go here. You can hear them all right here on 97.3 ESPN as the Sixers wrap up their season. And then, of course, a very important offseason for them in the development of this franchise. And as Coach just mentioned, they are ahead of schedule, and a lot of things are very exciting. And I think people, hey, if you guys continue to go and keep I think the big thing is just going to the building, the energy in there for a team, you know, that does not win in a lot. It's still a great time and a great product. I think the whole organization should be commended for the entertainment, and as hard as those guys play, and they should be commending you as well.
Well, like you say, this is a collective effort. You know, Sam and I talk daily. We're all on the same page. You hear I have to answer a lot of questions about, you know, different things that go on, and we're all in this. We got an ownership group that's extremely bold. I mean, how aggressive is it what they've allowed us to do in the city of Philadelphia? And so I think that the boldness that the owners have showed, the capabilities of Sam Hinkie as he's shown, I think Scott O'Neill with what he's doing with the entertainment and the season ticket holders, paying attention to them, all those things matter. And we need everybody if we're going to deliver on such a very, very difficult accomplishment, something that is hard to navigate when you're talking about trying to grow a team in the NBA.
No doubt about it. Well, Coach, we appreciate a couple minutes at a time after you guys are practicing, and we know these last couple of games you're focusing on, so we'll let you run, but we do appreciate the time as always.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
You got it. Coach Brett Brown, the Philadelphia 76ers.